Back at Homestead Miami, now the 11 guys that must compete among themselves to get in this starting field. And the first of these 11, Max Pappas in the Geico Toyota. Trying to make his third start of the year. He's run the 2 road course races at Infineon and Watkins Glen. You could hear the emotion in his voice when you interviewed him a moment ago with his father-in-law, Emerson Fittipaldi, standing behind him, about how much it would mean for him here in South Florida with so much family to be able to make an oval track start here in NASCAR.
He's got a pretty solid lap going so far. He had a good practice session.
I love this guy. He's got so much heart. He races so hard. He really wants this. I mean, he wants it in the worst way.
Yeah, well, he's 30th right there. We'll have to see, but most of the time when you go in and you say, well, I out-qualified Jeff Gordon and Kurt Busch, that's normally a pretty good thing.
You see, you just go ahead and take that.
That's exactly right.
And even if he wouldn't make the field, he could go home and say, well, I out-qualified those guys.
You know, we talk about the testing deal for next year. This is exactly the type of people that, you know, it is going to hinder somewhat.
It is, and the reason, you saw it right there, that car was bottoming out, the splitter and all that through the corner, and that's really hard to get right. And without these guys being able to test, that's going to hurt these teams. This hurt Max a little bit. They didn't have the car exactly right, but Max did a great job.
Lots of motorsports to come your way here for the weekend. We'll be back here with our... Here's A.J. Allmendinger, who's done a phenomenal job in this Gillette Evernham Dodge. And I would say that everyone in the garage area would tell you right now, they told me this morning, this guy's stock has gone through the roof over the past month.
Oh, I talked to some of the team members today, and they really like this guy. You know, it was just a temporary situation when they started out, but they've really grown fond of him. They would probably like to keep him in a car if they could.
He struggled a little bit right there. You see, he couldn't get to the gas as much as he wanted. Looked like that car was really, really loose.
He's 28th, so far the quickest of the 2 go-or-go-home cars.
He was the quickest of all the go-or-go-homers in the practice sessions. That bodes pretty well for the fact that he's 28th and Max Pappas was 31st, so maybe Max has got a pretty good shot.
Most of these guys we're probably going to see run that second lap until they get to the point.
Yeah, they don't know that they're not guaranteed in until some of these cars, they outrun some cars, so they'll try everything.
AJ had never run a NASCAR Sprint Cup car at this track. He'd only been here in the NASCAR Nationwide Series car. Let's go down and visit with a guy who had a heck of a qualifying lap. Mike.
How much there is still to learn. It's definitely getting closer, but I mean, it's going to be a process. I mean, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint race.
Whatever the case, Shannon, he's certainly making it look easy here in qualifying today.
Mike down here with Brian Vickers, who will be the last driver to go out in this qualifying effort. He is in the 84 car, usually Scott Speed's car. Second on the speed charts for that 83. What do you think you can do for this 84?
You know, that'd be pretty good. You know, we kept going back and forth whether to run the top or run the bottom. Obviously, you know, being you know, we're not locked in the field, the top, there's a lot less room for error. If something goes wrong, you know, there's no room to make it up. You're going to hit the wall, and it's really going to hurt your lap. So we're probably going to lean to the bottom. I'm sure that's going to hurt our overall speed, but we'll see how it ends up. I think we were pretty good in practice.
Now, the 84 car right now is 17 points outside that top 35. Knowing that, if you make the race, how is that going to change your approach to racing this weekend?
None. I mean, you know, we just need to go out there and try to win the race. You know, we just got to finish the best we can, try to get this car back in the top 35, and then be the best for all of Red Bull.
All right, good luck to you today. Brian Vickers in the 84 car. He is the last, as I said, to go out in this qualifying session.
We'll see if he can get it done here. May have a good shot at it. How about Bill Elliott? Awesome Bill in the 21 car for the Wood brothers, 15th quickest.
This team's really coming on. They're running great every week. Top 15 so far. Good job for the Wood brothers and Bill Elliott.
Well, can someone come up and knock off Rudeman? Still some more cars to go. We'll see who's going to get in and who will go home when we come back. Homestead Miami Speedway, NASCAR Sprint Cup pole qualifying continuing. This is the 09 of veteran Sterling Marlin.
This is a car that Hendrick Motorsports prepared for Phoenix Racing, for Sterling to run this final race of the year. He should have a good shot at it right here.
Sterling will try to make his 9th start of the year. His best finish 22nd back in the spring at Phoenix.
If he were to make the race, this would be James Finch's 100th Cup Series start.
Pretty solid lap going here. Get off of turn 4.
So far, so good for Sterling.
Yeah, it's looking good.
That'll do it for him. That's in the top 20. That's 19th for 31.70, 76. That's a good lap.
And as you said, most of these guys will go ahead and take both laps on the racetrack. Nothing to lose here if you've already got one in. Get a shot, maybe get a little bit better. Grab some grip out of turn 3 and 4, which he's not able to do right now as he loses a little time, as most others have done at that same spot coming off of 4.
He loses just a little bit of time, so he'll stay 19th.
Well, we invite you to join us for coverage on Sunday here. The final stop. Next car to go out to qualify will be the driver nicknamed Front Row Joe Nemechek. And a little bit of news coming out of this team yesterday. They announced that they would run a limited schedule in 2009. Furniture Row Racing team president Joe Garone saying it's just simply a matter of the economy and they're having to balance their priorities.
See, we're comparing this lap to Sterling Marlin's lap. If Joe were to beat Sterling, which he's on pace to do, that'll lock him in. Missed the race last week at Phoenix, so I'm sure Joe's motivated here to make this last race.
Yeah, they've made 31 of 35 races this year, including he was a pole sitter at Talladega. So they've had a good year with this team.
Wow, nice lap. That's 16th fastest, and that will lock Joe in. Keeps moving Jimmy Johnson further and further back. He's 28 so far.
You're Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus, DJ. Are you a little concerned about being back that far with a few very inexperienced drivers between you and the front of the field?
Well, there's no doubt that that's not the type situation they were looking to put themselves in here in this race. See Joe Nemechek running that second lap. But yeah, Jimmy, it's going to be a lot more stressful 2 days and nights here before Sunday afternoon comes around. They've been very good at avoiding trouble, though, for the majority of the year. You know, their biggest concern right now is going to be getting their car good enough in tomorrow's practice to make sure that they're comfortable with it, that they can go forward in the race and do the job that they need to do.
And how do you do it? Do you try to get there quickly? Do you do it on pit road with pit strategy to get track position, or do you just do you find a place to stay out of trouble?
Very carefully.
Yeah. They don't need to pull any tricks, you know. I mean, you know, their job's kind of cut and dried. It's what they have to do. So it's not an ultimatum that they have to be up and finish in the top 10. They only have to be in the top 36, and so they don't have to do any tricks. They need to keep good tires on it all day long. No strategies. Make sure they get all the wheels tight on the pit stops, and have a good enough car to make some passes during the race, and they will have that.
Just don't shoot yourself in the foot.
That's right.
Tony Raines in the 70 car out to qualify. Again, in the garage area this morning, Tony's name kept surfacing up among some of the owners and crew chiefs that I was talking to about possible open seats for 2009. He's done a pretty nice job with this team.
Well, he's a good race driver. He can get in that right situation, and that's what it's all about, is finding yourself in that right opportunity in this sport at the right time.
See, looks like he's going to be slower this second lap. And if he is, that will lock in Sterling Marlin.
Right now, Elliott and Nemechek are locked in. The slowest of the go-go homers is Max Pappas, 35th overall.
Good news for Raines is the next car that runs slower than his lap, he'll lock in because he's the next highest car.
So Chad McCumbee will be the next car to go out in the 45 car for Petty Enterprises. One has to wonder now with the new testing policy NASCAR announced today about a driver like a Chad McCumbee being able to go out and get comfortable now in the car. Obviously, his future isn't exactly set with this 45 team for 2009. So would they opt to now go get a more experienced driver as opposed to someone that they can't really go out and test with?
If that policy holds for a few years, I think what you'll see is that you won't see the Cup teams putting in these extremely young guys in their cars. They're going to wait till they get just a little bit more experience on these racetracks in Nationwide Series cars or trucks before they just bounce them or pop them right in one of these Cup cars.
Yeah, get more experience there and wait till NASCAR either opens this back up or something changes. Hopefully as the economy gets better. So could be a ways down the road. I think you're going to see the more experienced guys get the rides.
And that could service the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Guys stay in there longer to get more experience before you jump into the Cup car.
Got a pretty good lap here. He's actually going to lock himself in with this lap.
Nice run by Chad McCumbee there. Not only is 27th quickest, knocks Jimmy Johnson back to 29th. Whoop. They need to be calling him in. He's in the race
they need
anyway.
to call him in. He's good.
Nothing to gain here.
If nobody's called him on the radio to tell him that he's in the race, he still thinks he has to run a faster lap here, and almost
got pretty loose right there.
Yeah. That's why it's important for the guy to be, the crew chief to be on the radio to tell him that, hey, we're in the race.
Yeah.
Don't need to risk it.
Still 4 cars to go, and the slowest right now, the Go Homers, is the 13.
Let's see how hard he hit this wall. He's just barely going to touch it, looks like right here. Just a little bit. Didn't really even see a mark on the wall, hardly. Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Just a bit of a love tap there on the 45 car. Sam Hornish Jr. rolling here to qualify, and there are some significant surprises here in qualifying for the final race of the year. Right now, David Ruderman would be getting his first career pole. He is the fastest car in qualifying. Scott Speed making only his 5th start ever in a Cup car on the outside of row 1, and our points leader, Jimmy Johnson, sits 29th right now in the qualifying order. By the way, Carl Edwards, who is chasing Jimmy for the championship, is 4th.
See what Sam Hornish can do here. He was pretty good in the first practice. We saw him a couple times kicking up dust up around the wall, didn't we?
He was driving hard in practice. Trying to find that right line.
He drove it off in there.
He goes. See, he's on track here to beat Tony Raines. Oh, that's what we saw.
Oh, the price there.
That's what we saw in practice. He was right up against the wall.
Is that where Michael Walters said the track narrows in a little bit?
Yeah, he said if it had just been a little wider, all he needed was a little wider track.
Yep. This isn't going to be the lap Sam was needing here.
Yeah, he's going to have to run a second lap and make it work.
He is definitely going to have to run a second lap and try to keep it out of the wall.
3, run another.
Got a 3-point lead here in the Rookie of the Year chase with Regan Smith, so he definitely needs to get in this race.
Yeah, he's got a better lap now. This one here is so far so good now to try to beat Tony Raines and hold it off this corner.
I don't know, he's headed the wrong way here, so he's not going to beat Tony Raines.
He's got a lot better lap. He needed to run that second lap. It moves him up to 37th.
He's still the slowest.
Still the slowest of the Go Homers.
And only 3 left to go, and all 3 of them are going to have to be slower than Sam Hornish for him to get in the field.
And that's not doesn't look good because Brian Vickers was very fast in practice.
I'll show you what happened to Sam here on lap 1 of qualifying.
We saw this in practice. He was just trying to get a little extra. Just runs out of room. You get up there just a little too far, and on the exit especially, that's where all that sand collects up next to the wall.
Yeah, and as you start running out of banking there and the track flattens out, that's when you find yourself into the wall. And we've seen a number of guys do it right there in that very spot.
Take a moment and check the racetrack here before the final 3 go. Kenny Schrader, Brad Keselowski, and Brian Vickers. Schrader there getting ready to, or hoping to make his 733rd career start. Lots of motorsports to come your way here for the remainder of the weekend. We'll be back here for NASCAR Sprint Cup Happy Hour. How important is that section to Jimmy Johnson? A lot of guys to get their cars dialed in for Sunday. And then we'll crown a champion for the NASCAR Nationwide Series, the Ford 300 at 4 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN2. And then NHRA California qualifying at 11 o'clock Eastern time on Sunday. NASCAR Now, and then live flag-to-flag coverage of the Ford 400 on ABC. And then we'll finish out the day with NHRA finals from California at 7 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN2. #11th start of the year for Kenny Schrader in this Hall of Fame racing Toyota. Best start was 7th and finish was 21st at Bristol back in August.
He's got to get her done here. He's going to make this race.
He's out of the gas a little early there, but picking the throttle back up. He's able to stay in the gas. This might be pretty good down the back straightaway. Yeah.
See, we're comparing his lap to Allmendinger's
Get all you
lap.
can get. Try to get it on exit.
Coaching there.
He's going to get it. He's coachable.
Yeah, it looks like that coaching's paying off. I think he's going to be
Right there at it.
at least fast enough to make the field. I don't believe he's going to lock in on this lap.
And he doesn't beat Allmendinger, but he is right below him in a 31.99.
Just ahead of Max Pappas and Sam Hornish, which that did knock Sam Hornish out of this field.
Still after it on this second lap. You see right now it's a little bit slower. Needs a really good corner right here. You can see it a little lower. I don't believe he's going to gain enough speed back off the corner.
And now it's hold your breath time. Because you got Brad Keselowski and Brian Vickers up.
I saw him over there talking to Brad Keselowski a while ago. Hopefully he didn't give him too many of his secrets around here.
Yeah,
Go
I
out
know.
here and knock Schrader out of the race.
He's got to beat this car or Brian Vickers to make the field.
Basically, he's got to beat this car. I think Brian Vickers will be pretty good. So
Yeah.
Brad has already bounced this thing off the wall one time. And if he's got a shot, this young driver is going to be really good in the future, but he's making only his second NASCAR Sprint Cup start or attempted start.
Yeah, and the tough part is the last lap that he was on the racetrack was when he was into the wall. So not a good memory to have to go off of to go out here and make a fast lap.
I bet these rear wheels will be spinning, though. This guy really wants it.
He's third in the NASCAR Nationwide Series point standings. You'll see him racing here tomorrow. There's Lance McGrew, crew chief for the 25, has a history of doing awfully well with young drivers like Kyle Busch, Ricky Hendrick, and of course Brian Vickers, who was there with Lance.
Going the wrong way. We're comparing his lap to Schrader's lap, and that's who he has to beat. He's got about a tenth and a half, about a tenth of a second now to make up. It's going the right way, getting into 3. Now it's going the wrong way.
So he made a nice run off of turn 4, but not going to quite get there.
That will lock in Schrader if he's not able to pick it up here on the second lap.
The 32.05.
He's got a little better lap going right here.
Could have just been filling it out that first lap for a little bit and realized he had a little more grip.
He's got it going on right here.
This is where he was really strong in that first lap, was getting off of this corner.
He got just a little free on that exit. Has he got enough room?
Going to be close.
He's going to do it. Puts himself in the race right there on that second lap. Great job by Keselowski.
Wow, nice effort.
Got a lot of want to in that car, huh?
Oh, man. That's nothing like youth, you know.
Yep.
Short memory right there, and he probably didn't even think about what had happened on his last lap in practice. He just knew that he had to go out there and drive his car into the race, and he did it.
Now you know why Dale Earnhardt Jr. chose him, and Rick Hendrick was pretty high on the kid.
So now Ken Schrader has to hold his breath while he watches this car. There's his teammate. That's Brian Vickers' teammate, Scott Speed. He's on the front row. He's second. He's watching our monitor we have down there. He's going to watch the whole lap.
Now remember, Brian Vickers he'd like to be on the pole, but he's got to get this car in the race. He needs a good solid lap. He can't bounce it off the wall or else he will not qualify.
Well, we're going to compare his lap to the pole sitter, David Rudiman, while Scott Speed watches on.
I heard Brian say that he needed to stay on the bottom of the racetrack, just a little bit safer down there. Couldn't take that chance, and it might hurt his speed just a little bit. But a good solid lap going so far.
It's a different situation when you have to make the race on time. You can't really just let it hang out.
No, you can't. Up there, it's a totally different mindset when you're in that position. He's going to put himself in the race. There's no doubt about that.
You are in the show.
Yeah,
That was
20th.
Jimmy Elledge, crew chief. He just said, you're in the show.
31.77. Nice effort by Brian Vickers.
So the Red Bull guys will get both cars in the show, and that certainly helps that 84 car in terms of trying to get in the top 35 in owners points here before the end of the season.
Yeah, Scott Speed's liking that too. That put Jimmy Johnson back to 30th.
Wow.
And the 3 cars that will not make it are Kenny Schrader, Max Pappas, and the 77 of Sam Hornish Jr.
Scott Speed was not only smiling because he going to qualify second for this race, but he also knows that Brian Vickers has a good chance of driving that thing into the top 35 and getting him a spot in the Daytona 500.
He's going to be Brian Vickers' biggest fan on Sunday.
And I tell you who I think should be really smiling is how about a kid from Zephyr Hills, Florida? Well, he's not a kid. He's 38 years old, but he's a kid to us in terms of his NASCAR Sprint Cup career. David Rudeman, in his 63rd career start, is a first-time pole sitter for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series.